Okay, so let's talk about Stamford. It's a town in Lincolnshire that people have called architectural eye candy. And, they're not wrong. It is a perfectly preserved slice of English history that seriously looks like it's been pulled right off a film set. And honestly, in a lot of cases, it has. For centuries, it's just completely captured the imagination of writers and poets, including the great Sir Walter Scott. And you can totally see why. The whole town is built from this incredible mellow, honey-colored limestone, which gives all the streets this amazing, warm, golden glow. And that grandeur, well, it's literally everywhere you look. From the ancient medieval churches to these magnificent, stately homes, like Burleigh House. I mean, that's a palace that was built to impress a queen. The whole thing just paints this picture of idyllic, timeless perfection. But, and this is the important part, that perfection was created in some of the most unexpected ways imaginable. Because the story of Stamford is, well, it's a masterclass in paradox. Its beauty isn't just a story of success. It's also a story of failure, of rebellion, and believe it or not, some shockingly brutal traditions that totally defy its peaceful appearance. So let's kick things off with one of English history's biggest what-ifs. We all know Oxford and Cambridge, right? But what if there was a third ancient university, one that was deliberately stamped out before it ever really got started? Well, that's exactly what happened right here. Back in 1333, a bunch of scholars got fed up with the riots and violence at Oxford, so they packed up and started a rival university in Stamford. And it got so successful, so fast, that Oxford totally panicked. They went crying to the king, who then stepped in and just shut the whole thing down. It's just a wild insight into medieval power, right? A reminder that knowledge was something to be controlled, and the establishment would go to pretty extreme lengths to crush any competition. And just to make absolutely sure it never happened again, for the next 500 years, every single Oxford graduate had to swear an oath, promising they would never ever teach in Stamford. All right, so here's the next big contradiction. You'd look at this stunning town and think, wow, this must be the result of centuries of nonstop prosperity. But the reality? Its incredible preservation is the direct result of a massive economic failure. So in the 1840s, the brand new main railway line was supposed to run right through Stamford, but some powerful local landowners, including the Cecil family from Burleigh House, fought against it. So the railway was diverted through nearby Peterborough instead. And as you can see, Peterborough embraced the railway and just exploded into a huge industrial city. Stamford, on the other hand, was completely bypassed. It kind of fell into this long, quiet sleep. So the crucial point here is its failure to modernize was its architectural salvation. The town was simply too poor to knock down its beautiful old buildings. So we've got a town saved by being overlooked. But don't let those serene, elegant Georgian facades fool you. Because underneath that civilized veneer is a history of some pretty incredible violence and chaos. Let's just say that for one day every single year, Stamford transformed from this quaint little market town into a scene of absolute total mayhem. And it was all because of one of England's most infamous and brutal traditions. For over 600 years, 600, every November, the town hosted the Stamford Bull Running. A wild bull was just let loose in the streets, and it was chased by a mob through all the narrow lanes, terrorizing everybody. It was this day of sanctioned violence that was so extreme that eventually it took the actual military, sent by the Home Secretary himself, to finally put a stop to it for good in 1839. But the story of Stamford isn't just about mobs and mayhem. Of course, this town, with its history of contradictions, was also home to some truly remarkable figures in English history, people whose lives were as grand and sometimes as strange as the town itself. I mean, you've got figures like William Cecil, who was the most powerful man in Elizabethan England, pretty much running the entire country from Burleigh House. Then there's William Brown, a 15th century wool merchant whose huge fortune created charities that are still helping the town today. And of course, Stamford's story also includes cultural giants like the world-famous conductor, Sir Malcolm Sargent. And then you get the town's more peculiar celebrities, like a guy named Daniel Lambert. Yep, 739 pounds. That was the weight of Daniel Lambert, the heaviest man in recorded history at the time, who happened to die in Stamford in 1809. He was so incredibly large that when he passed away at an inn, they had to demolish a window and part of the wall just to get his enormous coffin out of the building. His story is a huge, huge part of the town's folklore. And this building right here really shows you the other side of Stamford's story. Because while men like Lambert were curiosities, it was the immense wealth from the medieval wool trade, funneled by merchants like William Brown, that was transformed into these lasting landmarks. Brown's Hospital, founded way back in the 15th century, is one of the best preserved medieval almshouses in the entire country. And get this, it's still in use today. So, we've seen how Stamford's perfection was the result of a crushed university, a missed industrial revolution, and the whims of powerful families. For centuries, its preservation was, for all intents and purposes, an accident. But in the 20th century, that accident became intentional. This is the year. 1967 is when Stamford's accidental preservation was made official. Recognizing its unique and almost perfectly intact collection of over 600 historic buildings, it was designated as England's very first conservation area. The town that was pickled in time by chance was now officially protected by law. And that really is the ultimate secret of Stamford. Its incredible beauty is a monument to being overlooked. And it kind of forces us to ask, how many other places out there hold these amazing stories of what could have been a failure that somehow turned into fortune? It's a reminder that sometimes the most valuable history is the one we were just lucky enough not to lose.